One of the key disciplines within the 2024 FIA Motorsport Games is rallying, and this year rallying takes itself to another level, because not only do we have three different categories, Rally 2, Rally 4 and Historic, but that's broken down further into overall events for the three classes, but there's a separate tarmac classification, a separate gravel, and then an overall. So if you don't necessarily want to do gravel stages, you don't have to. The provision is there only to do the gravel rally, only the tarmac rally if you prefer. But if you want to do the whole thing, then you compete across 14 special stages, and then on Sunday afternoon back here at the circuit at Ricardo Tormo, there will be the medals super special stage, SS15, where the top three outright go head-to-head for the medals, and the cars have battled their way through the stages today, gravel stages. So the intriguing part of this is they come to the circuit with a gravel setup. Tomorrow they'll handle a lot better, but today the cars aren't necessarily set up for the conditions, the terrain that they are about to encounter. We've got, of course, cars from different nations, and the final course cars making their sweep through the stage to make sure that everything is where it should be, because it's the race circuit, but with bits of it used in reverse, bits of it used in an alternative direction, some of the perimeter roads, some of the infield roads being used as well. And so here, the course car, the zero car, making its way the wrong way around the circuit, going up now towards turn 8. And then to turn 7. So it's not just watching cars do a lap of the track. There is a lot more to it than that. They had a qualifying stage here yesterday. They had a shakedown stage around here yesterday as well. So they have had the drivers, the crews, co-driver as well, of course, some experience of the Ricardo Tormo circuit. And they're getting set then now, ready for SS7 of the day. And the first cars will be due shortly. We've had one or two dramas over the course of the day, which means that we've lost 2 or 3. We've also got the event running about 10 minutes late. But even so, as you see the zero car hairpin its way from perimeter road back to permanent circuit, it's going to be an interesting special stage for sure. Great variety as well across Rally 2 with the 1600cc four-wheel drive cars, the turbocharged 1 litre or 1600 normally aspirated Rally 4s, and then this great variety out of historics as well. So we have a lot to look forward to once the cars do get themselves onto the stage. This just gives you a taste of what the stage will look like, the circuit in reverse direction, and the first car has just blasted away, in fact. So out of the blocks for Rally 2 to go first is for Mexico, Alejandro Mauro Sanchez. And we'll come to the first competition car very shortly indeed. The first car then onto the stage is going to be Mexico. So Alejandro Mauro Sanchez works his way now around turn 14 of the permanent circuit, gets himself to the final time control, if you like. The marshals await, and he has had a decent day with thirds and seconds across the bulk of stages. Not a stage win. In fact, the dominant driver today has been Spain's Alejandro Cachon, who has been victorious across every stage. But in a moment, we are going to have the Team Mexico entry released. We'll look down from the drone. David Addison and Ben Constanduris are trackside, and looking forward to something rather different compared to the circuit racing activities. This illustrates just how much of the permanent circuit can be used here. Yesterday we had people recceing it. We had people doing a track walk. The marshals, the track staff have been busy putting in the different markers to make sure that drivers know which direction they're meant to be going, which route is for them. And so the car's just being held over on the exit of turn 13, but very shortly we'll be in business. And there you can see the first car away, and it is for Team United Kingdom. It is Oliver Mellors at the wheel, and having talked about the cars being set up for gravel, you can see how much lean there is on the tarmac. Now, Ben Constanduris has been out and about like a true rally fan all day, map in hand, bobble hat on, and it's been a busy day for the teams, Ben.
Absolutely. Lots of work for these guys to do. This poor Proton has been bashed about a bit this afternoon.
Okay.
It left the paddock and instantly the prop shaft partly detached itself. Not fully, so it still does have four-wheel drive, but it has a horrible rattle, which has then managed to rappel the drive shaft cover, I think it was, and all the fluid has leaked out of the rear left drive shaft as well. As you can also see, it's pretty battered because the stages are quite a kind of grease turkey-like in their stoniness and roughness. And so there are parts that are kind of Finland and nice and wide and slidey, but there are a lot, and there's hardly any air in that rear left tyre. He's got another one in the boot that's already got a puncture, and in fact you can see that rear left is now wobbling around possibly more than it was supposed to be. So Mellors is just kind of getting to the end of the day. He's still in competition to get a medal in the overall. He just needs to be really strong on tarmac tomorrow. And it's difficult to really know because gravel and tarmac are so different, and lots of work for these guys to do to get their cars set up correctly.
But he's not driving like somebody who's just getting to the end of the day. There's still a lot of commitment in this. The car may not be all that willing, but he's still having a red-hot go.
Remarkably, inside that car, it looks like they've done the Dakar. There's been so much dust getting inside all the seals because there have been parts that have been very sandy and dusty. But good to see them get to the end. It has been a very horrible afternoon for them. They've been first on the road in the morning, which meant they were sweeping all of that sand away from the hard base layer, so very little grip. Looking forward to an afternoon where the roads have been swept because there was only 2 stages that they actually took part on, and then they've had this rear wheel doing that. Look at it. I'm surprised it hasn't buckled under.
Yes, I was thinking the same.
If it was a 70s touring car, it would have done, wouldn't it?
He's given up the Cambrian Rally in the UK to come and do this as Oliver Mellors to represent Team UK. It's the last round of the British Rally Championship this weekend, and Oliver Mellors has been a regular in that. He's got his brother leading the historic division as well with his Toyota that we'll come to in a moment. But from the perimeter roads back onto the permanent circuit, and now the long drag up the pit straight.
So yeah, we're going to at least use the finishing line of the main circuit, even if we're going backwards of that circuit. Nice little chicane to get through, and that will stop our timing beam. It starts because every car starts on a minute, so we know when they start, although unfortunately that hasn't stopped the clock by the looks of things.
2:59.920. It has on that screen, not on your screen. But Alejandro Mauro Sanchez, then, I was saying a little bit earlier on, has been top 3 for much of the day, taking individual stages into account. Not as dominant as Alejandro Cacaron, but we'll come to him in due course. So here, Alejandro Mauro needs to find some time, doesn't he? Because we're not just looking at individual stages. This is the last stage of day 1 of the event. So here's an opportunity to try to close that gap overall. Yeah,
but he's not actually taking part in Rally 2 gravel, which ends this evening, so he doesn't have to worry too much about where he finishes the day. He did lose a minute earlier on today with a puncture. He didn't change the tyre, therefore just got to the end of the stage with a slightly well, not slightly ruined, it was completely ruined, the tyre, and did a bit of damage to the bodywork as well. But Mauro Sanchez, really one of the favourites for Rally 2 across the board, and has managed in the last couple of stages to get himself back ahead of Oliver Mellors after losing that 1 minute with the puncture, but also partly because Ollie's car's been also horrible, as we found out. It has been a brutal day. Tomorrow on tarmac, it's lovely. The Spanish roads, as you would expect, nice and smooth, but they did find some amazing gravel stages. For the first time, of course, in the Motorsport Games, to have gravel, and it's been quite spectacular out in the hills.
And we're not talking Mickey Mouse stages, are we? I mean, stage 6, the most recent one, it's a 10-minute stage. So there's a lot of mileage in there. These are good roads.
Yeah, 14 kilometres, each of them, actually. I don't know how they've managed to do that. But that last one, the second one, is, they've been saying 3 passes of the second one was about the limit. They would need to have transferred to Dakar vehicles for a 4th pass.
Right, now, this is Mauro Sanchez to see if he can go quicker than Mellors, and the answer should be yes, he does. So Mauro Sanchez does a 2:51.6, so he's over 8 seconds faster than Oliver Mellors. As we turn our attention next to the Qatari entry, which is Abdulaziz Al-Khouari. And it is now raining, so this throws another curveball at them, and those that have got through in the dry now have a completely different track surface and a much quicker time. It doesn't look like it's wet all the way around, though.
Doesn't look like it's raining where we are.
No, exactly.
Well, the other part of the circuit, definitely raining for sure. Interestingly, on gravel days, you want to start lower down the order so that people have swept the gravel and the soft gravel away from the grippier, hard stone underneath. So those most competitive are coming later on in our running order, and therefore the track could be getting wetter and wetter. The gaps between our cars, not huge, but probably unlikely to change on a short 4 kilometre stage that we have here.
So right now it is Alejandro Mauro Sanchez, 2:51.6 the best time. There is the Team Mexico car going through that final time control with the officials. Wipers on, but not looking as though they need to be on at the moment. I did see Sanchez have a wiper flick. I just assumed he knocked those on in all the busyness inside the car. But now the road here looks dry, doesn't it?
You do see, though, especially in this Qatari car, that there is not much grip given on a gravel setup, on gravel tyres, on this very smooth and slick circuit, Ricardo Tormo. The car's not biting at all, it's just sliding across the surface.
It's great to watch, but it must be hell inside the car, mustn't it? Because it's just not doing what you want. And Abdulaziz Al-Khouari, he's no slouch, but these are rather different roads from those that perhaps he is used to in domestic rally competition, as he now with the Skoda accelerates up towards the chicane and then towards the flying finish. Double Qatari champion. He's been a WRC2 event winner in the past as well. So, here's somebody that knows exactly what they're doing.
And a shame, he's just going to miss out on a podium in the Rally 2 gravel. If no problems occur with the top 3, then that will be 4th position in Rally 2 gravel. We won't see him tomorrow on tarmac.
Interestingly, though, he was still quicker than Mellors, even though he had a wet road in parts to contend with. Still better than a battered and prop shaft affected and punctured tired Proton of Mellors. Now, this is Bjorn Sartorius for Team Germany, who's been a regular at Motorsport Games because we saw him a couple of years ago. And Sartorius, who has been in the German Rally 2 and Rally 4 competitions this year, as well as the Mitropa FIA Championship. Normally a man to watch.
And a classic body language of the Ford Fiesta WRC and WRC2 cars. Very soft. You have to have these cars in gravel spec. Much softer than perhaps the Skoda appears to be. That's why you get this huge amount of dive that the nose. Look how far the suspension is. It then compresses when he gets back on the brakes. But that's how these Fiestas operate at their best. And you see that across the board. But it does look particularly lurid when you're on a situation like this. Different, interestingly, to qualifying, because qualifying, which set the order in which they ran today, that was done with the regulation allowing you to change your springs and setup. So some teams actually had a completely different suspension setup for qualifying 4 kilometres yesterday that they then re-changed back into gravel setup for today. So the times that they set yesterday are not necessarily comparable to what they've done today, even though it's the same layout.
So this is Bjorn Sartorius, who's aiming for a 2:51, but he's not really been in the top 3 all day, has he? So he's been there or thereabouts, to use that dreadful phrase, as he threads his way through the gap, tail wags a little bit, and now gets back onto the loud pedal heading up towards the chicane. But I think that brief bit of rain has passed. It doesn't look as though wipers are needed anymore, and Sartorius then comes now to the chicane, has to stand on the brakes, thread delicately through the tyre stacks up towards the line. Anything in the low 250s, he's pretty decent at the minute, and he will break the beam at... We await, a 2:58 is the time for Bjorn Sartorius. So he goes second on the stage, and he's ahead of Al-Khouari by 0.264 of a second. So Alejandro Mauro Sanchez has just gone storming away in terms of a time up front. Everybody else now arguing over second.
Lithuania have been absolutely one of the surprises, perhaps, of today's running on the gravel, because Rokas has actually been in the top 3 almost every single classification of Rally 2 gravel, and he won't be running in tarmac tomorrow, but he is on course for picking up a bronze medal, and he's only 17 seconds off Ali Turkan for silver in Rally 2 gravel. Remember, we are giving medals at the end of this stage to the top 3 who have entered only in Rally 2 gravel. So Rokas, he is 17 seconds back from Ali Turkan. I don't see that particularly changing unless Ali gets himself stuck in a gravel trap. But this could be a medal finishing performance.
Could indeed, couldn't it? So, although you've got Rokas Stepanovic with lots and lots of arm twirling inside the car and hunting for traction, that would have cost him time. It looked good, but that's going to go against him. The Team Lithuania car then now threads its way across the runoff area in conventional terms, back behind the wall, and then he's got this very narrow gap to thread through at the other end. This is the one part of the day when we don't have to worry about track limits here.
Yeah, absolutely. Although there are obviously areas where you can't cut, and there was talk yesterday in the paddock about an area of the circuit, not entirely sure where people were taking more and more liberties, to a point where a Rally 4 car hit a tyre stack and rolled twice on shakedown. Well done to Team Netherlands.
Oh, okay.
They are going to be competing tomorrow in Rally 2 tarmac, but with a rather scraped paint job.
And slowing right down as though he's thinking he's taken the finish.
Yeah, he has.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong tyre stack, wasn't I?
Yeah, there are two on the main strike.
So Stepanovicius takes the beam, goes second, in fairness, 2:54.6, so that's all right. Now, this is the man he's up against, isn't it? This is Team Turkey's Ali Turkan, Red Bull athlete, and another experienced and very competitive driver, and another of these nose happy Fiestas.
Medalist in Rally 4 back in 2022. In the front-wheel drive only car. He's really been in a Rally 3 ever since, which is a four-wheel drive car, but with less power than this Rally 2 version. And he's actually leading the Turkish Championship in that car against people in Rally 2 cars. So doing a really, really good job, but doesn't have the experience of Rally 2 as such. So hasn't been quite on the pace of the Spaniards who have dominated today, but has been comfortably sitting in that second position. Has a punctured tyre in the boot of that car that he got at the end of the first stage of the loop. But otherwise, the car looks really clean. He's obviously driven it well, and sadly not able to fight against Spain in both categories today. But he is on course for a silver in Rally 2, and he sits second in Rally 2 overall.
But he has been a regular in the top 3 throughout the day, even if the pace hasn't been there. So he's maybe not got the ultimate pace, but it's been a good, solid day, despite that puncture, as you say. So Ali Turkan now up towards the first task stat, the chicane, and then he's up towards the timing beam, and still a 2:51 is the best, but at the moment 2:51 plays 2:54, and into the chicane he comes. So Ali Turkan is going to put himself where in all of this? The answer as he gets to the timing beam will reveal itself in a moment, because Ali Turkan is about to stop the clock. We in turn look at Team Spain. Turkan goes second, 2:53, so 1.8 seconds down on Sanchez, but this has been the dominant man of the day.
Well, both Spanish cars have alternated in stage victories. Cajon and Suarez. Suarez is only doing gravel, so he won't be with us tomorrow, but Cajon will be. And so, in theory, you'd say, well, Suarez should be the one that is the more dominant, and they are both leading their respective categories. But in overall time, in the afternoon, Suarez has lost time consistently to Cajon, whereby in the morning it was stage wins to Suarez, but by only a second or two, whereas Cajon's taken big chunks. So that bodes well for Spain tomorrow as well, because that Toyota Yaris will become a tarmac spec car tomorrow. Everything stiffens up, lowers down, looks more aggressive. 3 hours work for the Teo Martin Motorsport crew to do after this stage. And for the moment, it does look as though he's on course to hold firm at the head of the field by over a minute and a half by the end of this stage. It's Suarez who will be picking up that Spanish medal if he can complete this stage.
Now, rallying is big in Spain, motorbike racing and rallying, two really popular branches of motorsport. How much local knowledge is there for the Team Spain drivers on these roads?
Well, there is a local rally based out of this circuit, and it does use some of the tarmac stages, but the gravel stages are pretty much new to everybody. And to be honest, they had so many different types of gravel and different types of road. It was a really epic kind of stage that they've managed to put together, because you've got some bits, as I said, that look like Turkey and Greece, and others that look like Finland, nice and wide. Some really red, sort of earthy, sticky, clayey stuff. A really good mix, but Spain definitely looking very, very strong.
Right, the timing beam goes Cajon, and that should put him up to the top. He does 2:49. That's the best time of the stage. Another stage win for him then, continuing this somewhat dominant day overall, if you ignore gravel for a moment. But the other Spanish entry is now the one that takes up attention.
Yeah, so I've seen Suarez in the European Rally Championship, mainly on tarmac, to be honest. The Madeira Championship. They have their own sort of subset of the Spanish Super Series, and he's absolutely dominant there. So interesting that he's chosen to focus on the gravel element, but he's obviously multifaceted, and there hasn't been a direct competition between him and his teammate in Spain because they are on different classifications. But I certainly have been looking at it, and I'm sure they have. The sunglasses, the cool sunglasses, were out at the regroup for Jose Antonio Suarez, even though it is dark as dark can be.
Yes, but he is a double Spanish gravel champion, so he knows exactly what he's doing on that type of terrain, and he's making the tyres work on this tarmac surface. Very nearly in the gravel, knocks the cone over as he goes. What was I saying about track limits? Right now, pushing on, Jose Suarez, 3 times the Spanish Rally Super Championship winner, and making the car absolutely dance, coming up through turn 2 on the racetrack.
What's remarkable about both Spanish crews is they've not used any spare tyres. I always have a quick look in the boot, and in these cars you can easily see where the 2 spare tyres are sitting, and they are fresh as can be. Everyone else has been scrabbling around with tyres. The tyres didn't look particularly well used, and the ones in the boot hadn't been used at all. So it's been a very controlled day by Suarez, and now he's able just to finish off those Pirellis.
Here he comes then up towards the chicane, and this could be a stage win overall, and the one tarmac stage of the gravel rally. Up towards the timing beam comes Jose Suarez then, and up towards the beam, goes through. And disappointingly, only 4th fastest then. So in terms of an overall time, not great. Should be enough to give him a medal, though, within the gravel rally. And look at this for commitment. Loads of understeer. The car pushing out wide. Curb, clips the gravel. But hey, that's fine, because it's not a tree, it's not a rock, it's not a bush, it's not a ditch. Gets away with it. And then, that's not really a marshal. Clip the bollard, knock that out of the way. Suarez taking the liberties on the racetrack here that you just would not do on a gravel stage.
No, but if it's a bush, you would. You just, you know, aim for the bush. You see so much of these cars battered and bruised. So that's gold then to Spain in Rally 2 gravel. Turkey gets silver, and Lithuania get bronze. In Rally 2, now we switch our focus, our attention, and also the way to drive a Rally 4 car, because it's front-wheel drive. And these cars are actually very tricky to drive, because you make sure that the rear tyres really don't do much at all, and they float around, like your old Renault Clios or TCR cars, for instance.
And it's all about momentum, isn't it? Because they're relatively underpowered, so you've got to try and drag everything out of them. The first car that we're looking at is that from Slovakia, so Martin Koci and Petr Teshinski. Koci has had a couple of overall stage wins during the course of the day, so the car, to my eye, looks relatively undamaged. Ben's about to tell me its woes of the day.
No, he's had a pretty good day, apart from using a lot of tyres. The rear tyres on that car are bald. They have no grip whatsoever. And he was the same at the end of his first loop on the 3rd stage of the morning loop. He had no rear tyres, so he's been working really hard. But there we go. Jose Sanchez has taken a medal for Spain, and that's great celebrations. I'm sure that they will have many, many more to come, not least in rallying.
Absolutely right. As I say, it's a popular discipline over here. And here, coming up then towards timing, is then the Slovakian entry. So through the chicane comes Martin Koci. Times, of course, are going to be much different from what we were looking at in terms of Rally 2. But that's not to say that the drivers aren't trying very, very hard indeed. So Martin Koci's time resets us, really, because that's now going to be the benchmark in Rally 4. 3 minutes 6. So, yeah, you're looking at times over 17 seconds down on a Rally 2 time, but that now is the time to aim for in Rally 4. Martin Koci then 3 minutes 6 seconds being our first Rally 4 time. And now we turn to Team Germany, which again has got cars just as in Rally 2. You can do tarmac and gravel, or just tarmac, or just gravel. So that's why, unlike other disciplines here, there are 2 entries for a given nation.
Or 3.
Yes, sorry, true.
You don't have to actually enter overall if you do the other 2, just to add complications to the mix. Or you can now enter overall and do all 3 days, but not enter the individual days competition, which is happening quite a lot, especially in historics. So Koci's main rival is Sergi Perez from Spain. Sergi Perez runs 3rd or 4th on the road, and I think he's had a little bit of an advantage by being further back in that running order. He was slow in qualifying, and he was purposefully slow in qualifying so that he didn't end up with a time too fast.
So the Team Germany car that we are looking at is Tom Kesser, who hasn't really sparkled, in fairness. overall in Rally 4, but that's not to say that he's not worth watching, because he's another driver that's done a lot of rallying in the last few years. And he's a German two-wheel drive champion this year. He's won the DMSB Rally Cup back in 2021. So he is a CV'd driver.
A lot of these Rally 4 drivers, of course, it being a relatively young formula, have huge amounts of experience, but only in their own country. So this is the first time he's ever competed outside of Germany, and probably, therefore, his first time on gravel. Because I think mainly the German championship is a tarmac-based championship. So he will be looking forward to tomorrow to being a bit stronger.
And has gone quicker than Cocci, so only by 99 thousandths of a second, but he's put one over Martin Cocci, who has been a stage winner today. So that's a pretty good end to the day for Tom Kessler. Maybe it's feeling more comfortable on a tarmac surface, but even so, it's a stage win, or potentially a stage win, given good pace already.
And because we're halfway through and we've got tarmac tomorrow, everything completely changes tomorrow. And someone like Tom, I think, will be a lot higher up on the order, and he'll start crawling back all the time he's lost from the gravel day. Yeah. This, however, though, looks like medal number 2 in quick succession for Spain. He needs to lose 20 seconds to Martin Cocci if he's going to lose that gold medal in Rally 4 gravel. He is a man that we will see also in Rally 4 overall, so he will be doing tarmac tomorrow as well, but he is registered to do a medal in tarmac, a medal in gravel, and a medal overall.
He being Sergi Perez here, so this is the next medal in the offing for Team Spain. Pretty good start to the games, isn't it, with medals racked up on the Friday evening, at the very start of the weekend, so lights on, lights starting to fade. Sergi Perez, and as you rightly pointed out earlier, completely different look to how they're being driven and feel to how they're being driven. You know, lots more understeer evident, less tail wagging with less power.
Yeah, and with gravel tyres as well that are made to be soft, to roll. I don't think it's a particularly pleasurable feeling, especially front-wheel drive. I know that four-wheel drive guys like it because they can throw them around and really slide, even though it's not fast. With this, it's just wait for the front wheels to actually give you some grip and positivity.
And what are we talking about in terms of engines for the bulk of the Rally 4 brigade?
Quite a different selection of engines, but effectively they have to have, they're balanced, so they have 5 kilograms per horsepower. And depending on what your engine produces, depends on the weight of the car. But in this, it's all Peugeots. We've only got a couple of Opels tomorrow on tarmac, but the whole field has been Peugeot 208s.
So that time offered up by Perez was the fastest, and 3 minutes 5.418, 1.2 seconds quicker than the opposition. As next we turn attention to India. Pragathi Gowda, the Indian lady, is next, and somebody else with titles to her name, having been the Indian National Junior Champion, Indian Gymkhana Champion, and again, it just illustrates the global nature of the motorsport games, doesn't it? You know, you've got what you might call conventional rallying nations. Rallying is popular in India, but it's quite a commitment to come and do the games from that part of the world.
Well, she's also competing in the French Gravel Championship this year, which isn't the more popular of the two, because tarmac gravel tarmac is the one for the French guys. She's had a bit of an adventure. She rolled her recce car on Wednesday before she got to stage 1. So the team had to drive a second car out to her so that she could complete the recce with her Brazilian co-driver. And then today in this afternoon's stages, damaged the radiator and spent 10 minutes repairing that. So was on course actually to be 3rd or 4th. But unfortunately lost 10 minutes in the middle of this afternoon, and therefore trails somewhat in Rally 4 gravel, but she's overall registered as well, so we will see her tomorrow, and the car should look a bit prettier tomorrow.
But she's a rapid driver, is Pragathi Gowda, so it's a shame, as you say, that she had that drama with the radiator and lost time. Brazil is currently being chased by the drone as the Brazilian entry of Luis Stedili comes through. Now, Stedili has spent most of his day, in terms of the overall part of the event, being 3rd.
Yep, yeah, exactly. And the same for Rally 4 gravel as well. So he's on course for a medal for Brazil. And the challenger was really from Team India, but that faded obviously this afternoon. So he's been left in a middle ground, not as close to the pace of Perez and Cocci, but good enough for a medal in 3rd position.
Yes, with Gowda cheesed off that she wasn't able to take the bronze, therefore. So there is Luis Stadili heading towards the end of the stage, and thread now round the back of turn 2, and then off the racetrack down towards turn 1, round the perimeter of that, back onto the circuit on the pit straight, and then up towards the chicane. Still to come, we've got the historic cars, which I think are most fans' favourites because of the noises and the memories they stir, but we'll come to those in due course. Rally 4 has been another popular initiative, though, hasn't it? A relatively cheap way of getting involved in international rallying.
And these cars, if I put my FIA hat on for a second, are now lined up to be TC Light cars.
Yes.
So they can be put effectively a tarmac package as you would use on a tarmac rally, and you can now use them in tarmac championships. I think the French are already lining that up for next year. So quite useful that the engine, the chassis is multifaceted, so it could be a circuit racer or a rally car.
And the nice thing about Rally 4 is that the manufacturers are getting involved. You know, there is the Stellantis Cup, for example, where big manufacturers are taking young drivers, trying to promote them, and exploiting the benefits of rallying once again. So I know that the top level of WRC is very, very expensive, and yeah, it is manufacturer dominated, but manufacturers are looking at the platforms beneath. So Stadili up towards, very, very wide, I was going to say, up against the barriers there, because he got oh so close to the tyres, but he survives that, but time lost.
On the handbrake, that's what we like to see.
Well, glad they have a handbrake, because most modern cars now have a button or a switch, don't they?
It's true. I reckon if you bought a Peugeot 208 off the shelf, it would probably have a button, right?
Yeah.
But for rallying, you need to have a bar. You need to have
Absolutely.
to grab hold, especially a front-wheel drive thing that you can't do anything with the rear wheels. You're on the bar quite a lot to get it to turn. Up
to the line, up to the flying finish, then goes Lewis Stadili, as we look next at the Chinese Taipei entry of Hushan Li, the man behind the wheel.
I've seen them doing lots of selfies today.
Right.
They have been clearly loving their experience. Look how beautiful the car is. It hasn't been scratched, it hasn't been dented, it hasn't been damaged at all. And so at the end of each stage that I've seen them, they park up and they take a photo of themselves, because I think this is only his 6th ever rally. So the amount of stages he's accruing is percentage by percentage quite big every time he finishes.
Yeah, and this will have therefore been a massively useful learning experiment for him, won't it? So great experience all round, but yeah, he'll go back buzzing after stages like this as the Peugeot then comes towards the tarmac once more. Wriggles its way back on track, and Hushan Li has not been fighting for stage wins, but has been getting steadily quicker over the course of the day as the confidence kicks in.
He inherited another position this evening with Portugal's Rally 4 car crashing out on the last stage of the day. By keeping it clean, by getting through the stages, he is moving up through the order, and the fields, the entries are such that if he keeps doing that tomorrow, he could find himself in a medal position.
Now the historic cars are also on stage. There is the Audi Quattro in the hands of Andrea Zivian. He was the gold medal winner in historic rallying at the 2022 FIA Motorsport Games, and this, for many people, is the epitome of rallying still.
Just won San Remo last weekend and literally brought the car directly from there to here. So it's sort of half got a tarmac setup still on it.
Right.
And so he hasn't had the funnest day on gravel, because he just says it's really hard to drive, to a degree that he also hit a rock on the left rear corner and bent the tracking arm of that rear left corner and got a puncture, and spent the whole morning with a car that was crabbing. They managed to fix that at lunchtime. It looks wonderful, but he just hasn't quite had the pace to be as dominant as we saw him last year. So I'm excited to see what he can do on tarmac tomorrow, where I think that would be his preferred surface.
Yeah, Ben Mellors has been the man to beat across the day in his Toyota in the historic division, but Andrea Zivian, or Zippo as he prefers to be known, is a great competitor. He's been a regular this year in the European as well as Italian historic championships, 3 times a class champion in the European Historic Rally Championship, and just about, if you've ever seen a car breathe in, that was the time, wasn't it? It just scraped its way between the wall and the tyres, and the Audi Quattro then, the original 4-wheel drive Group B rally car that started that revolution all those years ago, 1982 when it first came in, and turned rallying upside down.
Some of these historic cars have got amazing pedigree. I don't know the pedigree of this particular one, but certainly the Celica that is leading by over a minute has Bjorn Voldegaard's name on the side. It has some old stickers as well.
Oh, he's outbraked himself, didn't get the corner, and time lost for Andrea Zivian. Gets going, but time lost. It was great to hear the car. It's one of the best rally sounds, an Audi Quattro, but I'm afraid tiny little error, and Andrea Zivian just losing a couple of seconds.
Not convinced that that rear left is completely as it should be.
This is going to be the target time in historics then, as the Audi Quattro then accelerates over the line, and the time that Zivian has done is 3 minutes and 10, so that is the target. Now, this is the Toyota that Ben was talking about, the car of Ben Mellors. It's a sort of tribute car, I think, rather than you would describe it if it was a Goodwood, rather than a genuine Valdegaard car. It is a car of the time, made into a rally car to reflect what was of the period. But Ben Mellors has driven it really well today. It's been a regular in historic events. It's been a regular around Goodwood in the rally stages there. It's a well-used Toyota. And the Mellors, of course, a good rallying family. Dad has been very successful over the years as well. We've seen Ollie Mellors already. So Dad Chris watching on as here. Up comes the Toyota back to tarmac. And Ollie Mellors, then having rather dominated the day, is now trying to get another stage win. And barring a mistake, should be able to do it here. He's got a 3 minutes and 10 to beat. But bearing in mind that Zippo, with the Quattro, Andrea Zivian, made that mistake, it's advantage Mellors. You can see the side windows absolutely covered with the little scrutineering tickets from Goodwood. But the Toyota pressing on.
Yeah, and Zippo could have cost himself a gold medal with that little mistake, because it is very, very close in historic rally gravel between himself and the Ford Escort Cosworth of Team United Kingdom and Ernie Graham. So this car, Ben Mellors, is entered into the whole rally, but is not entered individually into the individual days, and there are other Team UK cars entered into those individual days. And at the moment, we could be getting a medal for Team United Kingdom, but 0.3 of a second, we're going to have to pay great attention to Ernie and his daughter Anna Graham.
The more you try and explain the difference between overall and gravel and tarmac, the more confused I get.
I know, because I'm also not saying them right. It's been a long day.
Fair point. Right, Ben Mellors then, to try to beat the Quattro, heads up towards the line and goes through with the stage time being slower, interestingly, a 3:15 as against a 3:10 from the Audi. So a lot of time lost relatively there. That's a big surprise, that. First stage loss of the day. Right, now no rally would be complete without a Ford Escort Mark II. And the good news is we've got more than one on this event. But Ernie Graham, who is a regular winner in historic events in the UK, he's been a winner in the European Historic Rally Championship as well. The care home owner comes then with the Escort Mark II with the Union flag atop it, down towards the next corner.
Yeah, so a car that we won't see tomorrow, only entered into historic rally gravel, but could be on course for getting a medal for Team UK. Willing it on by the looks of things. I don't know, their head nodding is with the brakes or them going, come on, come on. Zippo is the target. Zippo's time is the target. And just 0.3 of a second coming into this stage was the difference between the two. Incredibly close, because Ernie Graham managed to get a stage win on the last stage just as I was coming up here. And so that passed me by 33 seconds. So it's really, really close. Not many corners to go.
Now, if an Audi Quattro makes a great, iconic noise in rallying, so does an Escort Mark II. So let's have a listen to this as he comes down towards the camera. Squeal of tyres on the handbrake, beautifully done. This is a great run, isn't it?
Yeah, I wonder whether Zippo had a problem with his handbrake, because we didn't see him do any handbrake turns whatsoever. But these latter cars have been able to rotate nice and quickly. The time really, really important here. One last hairpin to go. Is it bronze? Is it gold for Italy or gold for Team UK?
Up to the line comes Ernie Graham, and let's see where he slots in. It is still Italy fastest and stays fastest. Ernie Graham goes second.
By how much? By over 2 seconds. Oh, so Zippo has got the gold. Here he is. He won't know it. Oh, maybe he's looking at the timings. Although the timings aren't automated like they have for the rest of the day because this circuit element, so it's not going to come quite as quickly as you'd like, Zippo. Cameraman, give him a thumbs up. Tell him he's good.
Right, from one type of rally car to something very different indeed. The Volvo 240 Turbo, which has been obviously a prolific clubman's car in Swedish events over the years, and most have been destroyed against trees. The 240 Turbo was a popular touring car in the mid-1980s in the Group A era, but for this weekend, it's a historic rally car as well, and this is for Team Germany.
It baffles me that the choice of these guys to go out and rally this car. It's brothers in that car. Or no, is that another husband and wife?
For Team Germany in the Volvo, it is husband and wife, I think, Siegfried
yes.
and Renate Meyer.
That's right.
But that does not look like a rally car. That looks
no, exactly.
like a touring car, like a road car. Well, I know they have to be driven on the road, but very standard. The amount of lean in it is there.
He had an ignition problem this morning on stage 1 and spent 10 minutes parked at a junction fixing it. And ever since, it's been out on circuit and doing well and doing okay. Not on course, unfortunately, for a medal because of its 10-minute delay on stage 1. But they have been having lots of fun. There's been lots of smiles from those guys. And as they come to the line, we switch to one of my personal favourites, this Alpine. Very confusing. There's a German Volvo and there's a Swedish Alpine. Why we haven't got a Swedish Volvo and a French Alpine, I don't understand. But here we go.
Isn't this just a great-looking car? Even now, it still makes you look twice.
And he's got light pods on. He's the first one to go on the light pods. You were allowed to do it, but nobody felt the need to. And that gets me extra excited because I love a light pod.
So the Alpine is Kjell and Peter Fransen, dad and lad. So Kjell, who is 70-ish plus, he's the driver. Peter Fransen, his son, on the notes, and the Alpine making its way around the back part of the circuit in the fading light, flicks now to the left to go round the perimeter of the circuit, and the Alpine hard at work. Team UK celebrating, Ernie Graham draped in the flag, having had a good day.
Yeah, that's silver. Sad it's not a gold, but just pipped to the post. A very good effort on that last stage to take 33 seconds out of Zippo, but ultimately a silver for Team United Kingdom.
In the meantime, for Sweden, taking a very wide approach to the tight hairpin, is Kjell Fransen, who will now accelerate back to the tarmac.
And a big gap to anyone around him. So sitting healthily in third position in Historic Rally. I feel as though this car will be better suited to tarmac tomorrow. I look forward to seeing it. But a lot of work, obviously, to do to get it transferred into tarmac spec for tomorrow. And all those big gaps could completely change again with Ben Mellers leading Zippo and then Fransen in third. We haven't yet seen the bronze medal in Historic Rally Gravel, and that who sits fourth in Historic Rally. We've lost a few cars, though. There was a Swedish Volvo. There was a Swedish Volvo, a 544.
Yes, I thought there was one missing, yes.
Yeah, and he parked up.
Oh. And the Alpine getting itself through the final tight hairpin. Now, just to explain while we have a moment, because there are only a couple of cars still to come. Day 2 of the overall rally competition is tarmac day. This stage, I'll try this again. The circuit is used again at the end of tomorrow. Is it a carbon copy of this stage, or is it tweaked in any way?
No, completely the same. So this is the same stage from qualifying. Stage 7, stage 14, and then a variation, obviously, for the medal stage where we have 3 cars on track at the same time. There's Zippo. Yes, well done. After nearly breaking the car completely this morning, you are a gold medalist.
And the message has got through now as we look at, is that the Opel Ascona of Wojtek Steif?
Yes.
Yes, which makes a great noise. And it's another unusual car. The one thing, of course, it's more common in historic than the other 2 categories is the difference in horsepower as well. Because, you've got small engine cars, big engine cars, whereas Rally 2 regs, Rally 4 regulations are designed to have, one standard kind of engine size. In historic, there's a lot more disparity. So maybe some of the reason for the change in order on this last stage has been that there are some cars that can just use all of that horsepower because, like the Audi, big powerful car, Opel Ascona, great on tight and twisty stages, he's going to be a bit breathless here.
Yeah, he had an Opel Kadett, if you remember, in 2022, which was possibly chosen to be a tarmac-only car, whereas this much higher off the ground and much more suited for today. But we haven't seen much from Wojtek. He's going to get bronze, but mainly thanks to the fact that the Volvo 544 that I was talking about retired on, maybe that was the last stage. Again, we had lost 2 Swedish cars on the same stage. And so he has been elevated up into that 3rd position. The only other challenger is the last car on stage, which is Antonio Sainz. And considering he is a bronze medalist from France 2022, the car failed in practice. He was slowest in qualifying and actually hasn't really been much faster all day. But again, maybe he will find much more pleasure on the tarmac roads tomorrow than rattling around this beautiful Porsche on the gravel.
Brother of Carlos Sainz Sr., uncle of Junior, and has gone under the radar a little bit. He's the half of the Sainz family that people don't really know very much about, but I think he's quite happy just being rallying at his level without any great expectation, but is still very, very quick because, again, he's been successful in Spanish and European historic events for a number of seasons.
He's got a couple of different historic cars, and actually the last time he drove this Porsche was 2 years ago in France for the Motorsport Games. So
right.
He's then gone off and used some of his other cars to play with. And so jumping back into this, Porsches, as we all know, are a very unique driving style, and perhaps just hasn't quite got on top of it. But it's been a cruisy day today. He will finish 4th in historic rally gravel and sits 5th overall. But he is 3.5 minutes back from Ben Mellors, so a lot to catch up on tarmac tomorrow.
Well, we know that Porsche 911s make good race cars as well as good rally cars, but the tarmac day should favour the car somewhat more. You can see the high clearance, can't you, that it's had to have for the gravel stages today, but it's got through more than anything. And
let's just have a quick thought for all of the mechanics that are going to be working long into the night tonight, because all of these cars that are partaking tomorrow in tarmac have around 3 hours of work that needs to be done on a modern day rally car to transfer them from gravel to tarmac. Bear in mind it's 7 o'clock local time here. They will not be leaving the circuit till 1 in the morning at the very earliest. Maybe not the same kind of work on a Porsche like this, but it's going to be a long night. And it's relatively early morning. They're leaving the circuit at 8 tomorrow morning, back into the mountains onto some pretty spectacular tarmac roads.
And then back here at the end of tomorrow, and back here on Sunday afternoon as well for the medal table. So up towards the timing line, stage end comes Antonio Sainz, and the Porsche puts itself 19th overall, which in historic terms is going to be 5th, in fact, of the historics overall on that stage.
That's healthier. He's taken some time out of the Volvo and out the Alpine there.
And that comes down to grunt, I suspect, on the tarmac. So let's have a look then at the overall stage, taking Rally 2, Rally 4 and historic into account. Right, Ben, let's try and unravel this. But the obvious thing is Rally 2 topped the times, and it is a stage win for Spain and medals for Spain as well.
Yep, medals for Spain in Rally 2 gravel, in Rally 4 gravel as well. And Italy gets the historic Rally gravel awards, gold. And of course, then we have to wait for tomorrow evening before we award the tarmac. But we don't award the overall until we do the medal stage on Sunday.
And the 21st time set by the Volvo of Siegfried and Renata Meyer. The 21 cars then that we've had across the rally. So we just shouldn't forget the Volvo, because it's a welcome addition to the ranks this weekend. So for some, the rally continues. For some, the rally is over, but we've got another full day tomorrow.
And more than that, we've got some cars coming in that we haven't seen today who are entered solely into the tarmac spec. So that's really good that we'll have actually a larger entry tomorrow than we had today. We had 28 cars today, and we're going to have 32 tomorrow. And a good half dozen that haven't yet participated.
So the sun sets over the circuit Ricardo Tormo at the end of day one of the FIA Motorsport Games. So let's have a look then at the Rally 2 cars on the stage. It was Ali Turkan for Team Turkey, who, having had a good day, being in the top three for the bulk of it, continued that by being third fastest here. Second quickest, though, was another driver who spent most of his day being within that top three, and that was Alejandro Mauro Sanchez. He was 2.2 seconds away from the top time, though, come the very end of the stage, and the stage winner was for Team Spain, Alejandro Cacon, who has rather dominated Rally 2 over the course of the day. If you take Rally 2 overall, just ignore the gravel section for a moment, he has been unbeatable. Whereas on the gravel element of the rally, Jose Suarez took another stage win, and with it, a gold medal, because the gravel competition ends today. And so for Team España, the first gold medal, and it came through Rally 2. Jose Suarez taking gold. In Rally 4, the cars may not have been as quick, but they were certainly spectacular, that is for true, as Pragati Gowda for Team India recovered after a damaged radiator to try to salvage a medal. It was not to be, though, and Martin Kocci for Team Slovakia was one of the early drivers to set a time. Touch of understeer, just compromising pace a little as he made his way through into the next chicane. For others, like Tom Kasser for Team Germany, he was looking rapid as well, but it was Sergi Perez for Team Spain that was on target for the stage win and for Rally 4 honours and more medals going their way. So Team Spain has had a good day across the rally competition, with the Sergi Perez Peugeot accelerating up for gold at the end of SS7 of the day, and it was a very happy driver that clambered out of the car. Sergi Perez taking honours, taking gold in the gravel part of Rally 4. Historic rally action came at the end of the day on the Circuit Ricardo Tormo. After battling their way through the gravel stages, the cars then hit tarmac, and Ben Mellors had rather dominated the day in his Toyota, whereas Siegfried Meyer in his rather standard-looking Volvo looked a little leery as he tried to adapt to the fast tarmac circuit. Ernie Graham, though, was looking for a medal in his Ford Escort, but he didn't quite have the pace to beat last year's outright historic rally gold medalist Andrea Zivian, whose Audi Quattro was looking mighty, even though it had struggled a little bit over the course of the day overall to the Ben Mellors Toyota. It was on target to score the gold medal within the historic rally gravel section of the event. And that meant that it was another gold medal for Andrea Zivian, following on from gold at the 2022 FIA Motorsport Games. Gold once more for Team Italy.